Hi, hello, good morning. Yes, as a result of the last lecture I gave on athletes' contracts and sports contracts, I had calls and comments and questions coming in from few athletes who were so concerned about the development in sports and their growth also as regarding whether going professional or becoming or still remaining as an amateur sportsman. Now, when I talked about the issue of sports contract or athlete's contract, as the case may be, it applies to both parties. I would like to reiterate here. Now, some states, for instance, in Nigeria, gives employment to athletes and thereby making those athletes statutorily bound by the civil service rules, and they are guided by those rules to progress along that line. And peradventure, they are tired of becoming athletes, they can convert themselves and become coaches by attending coaching courses and seminars and programs, and they progress into professional coaches. So when I talked about the issue of contract, it does not only apply to athletes alone, it applies to both coaches, technical advisor, like I said, and technical directors, as the case may be. So whenever a contract is given to you, there are clauses that makes it very mandatory. Like I will say again this morning, that are supposed to be in the contract. For instance, a contract must be binding. It must have what we call consensus ad idem in law. The English translation is that it means the both parties must have come together, the meeting of the minds. That's what it simply means. So, what it means is this: when there is consensus ad idem, that means both parties have agreed to the clauses as enshrined in the contents of that contract. Like I said also in my past video, you have a contract for personal service, which people usually athletes, coaches also usually give out. They are given contract of personal service. That is to say, they are giving out their personal service based on their skills and talents and their commitment. So when you see a contract, you don't just draft a contract and think it's the ordinary day-to-day contract. There are clauses that are supposed to be there. For instance, like I said earlier, there must be it must be enforceable. There must be consensus between both parties. They must have agreed to the clauses in the contract. It must be binding. And above, in sports contract, and above all, it must be a contract that can be executed. Now, why I'm saying this is very clear. You can't tell an athlete who is into boxing, for instance, to tell him, okay, after I've given you an athlete's contract, well, I don't feel I'm going to footballing. I know I want to convert that contract into a football contract. No, it's not executionable. You can't execute that. You can't transfer that kind of contract. So specifically speaking, when contracts are signed by both parties, it becomes binding on them. So as far as I'm concerned, especially in Nigeria, most athletes, especially, I don't want to mention sports, but for those listening now and watching this video, you know that it has happened to many of these athletes, and it is a deprivation of their rights. It- at times, contracts are not even given. They sign a paper a night before the registration of their whatever it may be a club. They just sign one, two sheets of paper and they call it a contract without being exhaustive of the responsibility of the athlete, without being exhaustive of the responsibility of the employer. So these are the things we're looking at for. For those of you who are athletes and who are coaches, who are working for clubs and all that, please bring this to the notice of your management. If you have not been given a contract, do well to ask for one, because also contracts are contains fundamental rights. There are times that a contract that can violate your rights, your fundamental human rights. What do you do in that case? Do you allow it to slide? So these are the things you look at and we talked about. So when I talked about contract, I meant I was I spoke in the context of every athlete who is a professional athlete should have a contract. And not just having a contract, he or she should meet or get to meet or consult an expert who will guide him or her in that regard. Because without the proper guidance, sportsmen suffer. Yes, I mean what I'm saying. Sportsmen. That's why today you see some sportsmen, after performing for years and they come back, they go into penury. Your contract is the source of you making a good meaning of your life. I'm telling you. So the fact remains that every athlete, whether you have been engaged for 2, 3, 4, 5 months, let it be on paper and pen. Let it be spelled out. It should not be a unilateral contract from one party, as if the man, on the other hand, is helping you. No. In a contract agreement, in a sports contract agreement, both parties are equal. Yes, you won't believe it. Under the law, both parties are equal, the employer and the employee. The athletes, let me use the right word now, the athletes and the manager or whoever is employing the athletes or the management of a particular club. You are working together to make money. You are working together to invest. You are working together to make good things for the club. So you are both partners in progress. No one supersedes the other, and nobody determines for the other. If you are tired, there are clauses that will tell you, okay, I'm tired of this contract, I'm pulling out. What you have to do, follow the regulations. If there are clauses in that contract that says you have to do X, Y, Z before you can pull out, then go ahead. So I have observed, as a sportsman who have done it from the age of 13 till date, that most athletes in my country, especially, I know in Africa too, they are being oppressed. There are no contracts. They are not engaged meaningfully by managements of clubs, management of states, even country. Even if a country is taking you out, there are things they are supposed to provide for you. You don't go begging, cap in hand. That is not done. As a coach, as a technical advisor, as an athlete, you know your onion. Your selling point is your skill and your talent. Your ranking, your progression. These are the things to look at. Then, without stopping here, let me look at the other angle of the coaches. A coach who signs a contract with a club, what happens? What are the duties? There are a lot of duties enshrined most times in contracts concerning coaches, and any breach of it can lead to termination of the contract. That is why now and then you see coaches being those, okay, I'm tired of working, I'm going out. Now, most times it doesn't work out that way. So, gentlemen, I think I've been able to douse your tension when it comes to the issue of asking about contract, whether you are fit to get a contract, even you as an amateur athlete. Yes, you are. Also for the coaches, also for the technical advisors, we all have the right to have a contract, provided you'll be able to execute it. Not just taking the contract anyway. Let me be very frank with you. There are high stakes by the employer who will tell you, well, I want to get to this level. Like in football, for instance, I can tell you, okay, you are going to coach my club. Fine. We come to a compromise. Sorry, we come to a consensus and agree. And I drop a stake and say, okay, will you be able to qualify for the CAF Champions League? And you throw your heart in the ring and say, yes, I'm going to do that. I'm a good coach. I'll be able to qualify the club. And if you fail, what happens? It's a breach. Yes, it is a breach of one of the clauses in it. If, for instance, you are an athlete and says, I'm going to win a gold medal at the next National Sports Festival, you go into a contract with the state and you're unable to fulfill it, what happens? It's a breach. those contracts can be reviewed and abrogated by the other party. So, ladies and gentlemen, athletes, coaches, technical directors, and technical officials, please note, I will come again to discuss more on sports contract because that is the basis of sports law. Basis of sports law. But it does not end there. It also falls under the issue of sports governance. Sports governance, how you govern a federation in a country, a confederation at the continental level, and the international federation. Even at the Olympics, you have the IOC, the International Olympic Committee. You have their rules and regulations. These are all rules that sports law governs. Without a good background of sports, of law to govern sports, we'll be having problems. Despite that, we're still having problems of sports law in Nigeria and all over the world. So, gentlemen, I will stop here. Your questions and responses will also trigger me into coming back to respond to it. I want to say thank you for watching. I want you to share. I want to give it to those who really do not have knowledge of these things. Even if they do, expand their scope. Expand it, please. Share, like, and ask your questions. Thank you and have a great day. It's a cold morning here and very rainy. Thank you.